With the Coke 600 in the books, it's time to turn our attention to Gateway. We got a big news item to dive into. We're going to talk about how Coke 600 went, what we got out of it, and how bummed we are that we got basically half the race, maybe like 2/3. All of that and more on today's Angle of Pursuit podcast.
Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack.
Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
Brian Twining, we are going to recap all that was the Coke 600, DraftKings, bets, all that good stuff, what we thought of the race. We are also going to get into Gateway. Where's the value? What is the betting board looking like? Who are we going to attack this week? But before we do any of that, I want to bring up a joint statement from Tony Stewart and Gene Haas. We had talked about Stewart-Haas Racing making some decisions and potentially getting rid of 2 of their cars and bringing on 2 new cars. Turns out they're just completely closing the business. Stewart-Haas Racing is completely going away. From what Bob Pockrass is tweeting out, it seems like, what was he saying? Front Row, 2311, and Trackhouse are going to buy one of the 3 charters. And then there's a 4th one that's still kind of up in the air, available for whoever may end up taking it on. Pretty wild turn of events. Obviously, Kevin Harvick leaves Stewart-Haas. Stewart-Haas kind of goes into the tank. They haven't been kind of
they haven't been good for the last 2 years or so, though.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, Chase Briscoe and then poor Josh Berry finally gets a seat. We'll see what happens to him. If any of the other Xfinity, Austin Hill, Justin Allgaier, any of these guys get called up. But I guess, what was your initial reaction to hearing this news? And, with 2311 becoming more prominent, with Trackhouse becoming more prominent, I'm guessing that's SVG's seat. Front Row getting another full-time ride. I guess, what's your thoughts on the news and kind of what it means for NASCAR starting in 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of the expectation the last week plus after the rumbling started coming out that, they were looking to sell their charters, and most people were just kind of asking, why would they dump 2 of them at a discount when they likely probably just get rid of all of them? And lo and behold, that's what it is. They're shutting the business down. I mean, it's been over 2 decades of racing, and kind of began at the time that my fanhood started to dissipate or had kind of completely gone away. So, I don't hold any sentimental value like a lot of people do in the sport. It's just odd seeing SHR go away. The one thing I will say, though, is that with the newer teams of Trackhouse and 2311 adding to their stable, I think that's actually a benefit, and that's actually going to propel the sport going forward, because these are 2 of the fastest growing teams and most progressive teams in NASCAR, which are helping garner more fans that aren't traditional NASCAR fans. Something that's it's a pretty polarizing topic to a lot of people. So I think that's good. It sucks for these drivers, especially Ryan Preece, who had just found his way back into the Cup Series with a decent ride. And now, honestly, I feel like he's going to be the odd man out here. I think he's going to have the toughest time finding a ride. I actually envision Josh Berry probably being the guy that goes to the Front Row team. And then I think Noah Gragson is probably going to be the most highly sought after driver. And so he's going to have his choice. Whoever is expanding next year, whether that's 2311 or Trackhouse, because Trackhouse is probably going to take SVG. This is going to be his ride. So I think Gragson is going to jump out to another team, and they're going to hire him on a 2-way type of thing where he's running Xfinity full time and then maybe jumping back in the Cup, or they expand their cars as well. So it's just going to be an interesting move for 2025. It's going to make everything look a lot different. I think this also kind of quiets down any rumors of Denny Hamlin leaving JGR anytime soon. With these 4 guys becoming free agents, I don't think they're just going to go away. So obviously Hamlin's going to stay with JGR, and they're just going to expand their team. And I think eventually, years down the line, 2311 is a stable, and Hamlin finishes his career there.
Maybe Hamlin makes the jump now. Maybe this is what he needed. They're going to get another charter. He
That would
jumps.
be that would break NASCAR news cycle.
Yeah, I mean, what if Hamlin wins the championship this year, has the amazing season, and he's like, okay, guys, I'm going to go do it for my own pocketbook. And, there is some interesting rumblings. There's also, Harrison Burton, who has been really underwhelming in the Wood Brothers car. Austin Cindric, I know he's got the family relationship, but he's been pretty terrible. Like, there could be a huge shakeup this offseason with maybe those guys go to smaller rides, and then maybe, Penske picks up somebody. And, there's a lot of potential moves. I mean, there's moves that we didn't expect to happen that didn't really seem like they were going to happen, like Justin Haley going to Rick Ware Racing.
True.
And becoming interesting. So it's like, if the thing I think that makes NBA and NFL and all these stuff really, really compelling is kind of the off-season drama and
free agency type stuff.
If NASCAR can develop just a little bit of that, even
God.
F1 has that going, where's everyone going to drive? That could make things fun. And Denny going to his own his own team, kind of like what Brad Kay did, and really racing against his old JGR teammates. I think that could be really interesting. And then there's also like some veteran guys like Martin Truex that maybe not next year, but sooner than later are phasing out. This sport could be flipped on its head. Trackhouse and 2311 could become the new JGR and Penske, and it could make things really, really interesting. But yeah, when I saw the initial note, I was like, oh, it's probably just a note talking about how they're going to get rid of 2 cars. And then I sat down and read through all of it, and I was like, holy crap, this is a lot more in depth. So I want to make sure we hit on
and
it.
then I'll also add, like, for somebody who, like, obviously I'm not in the know on this type of stuff, and being kind of, my attention is also in other places in the sports world. I'm not too up to date on the whole charter system with NASCAR. I understand it a little bit, but from what I can tell, I will say this is a little bit worrisome, because if the charters, like we saw Brad Keselowski tweet when people were asking if RFK was going to add one of these, and he's like, well, I'm $30 million short for one of these. And the thing that I'm looking at this is that we already have 36 cars running in a race. And something that I knew when I was growing up, we had 42 cars entering each race every single week. Last week was the first time they had a full field of 40 in God knows how long. And so, when you think of this, if nobody picks up that 4th charter, we're looking at 35 full-time cup teams. And what about the Kaulig situation, when everyone is talking about how they're not dedicated to winning whatsoever? I mean, they sent their best driver down, and then their best driver left to RWR. So, like, yes, it's exciting, but are we just going to get to a point where it's like in Power 5 college sports, and we're just going to have like 30 drivers, and they're all spread out amongst Penske, JGR, HMS, 2311, Trackhouse, and maybe Front Row or something? The smaller teams are going away, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little unfortunate. Sport is really expensive, especially as it continues to grow. But also, I don't hate trimming the fat. I don't hate, not having an extra 8 cars. I don't need BJ McLeod out there knowing he's going to get 38th place every week, slowing down the leader, causing lap traffic, and forcing, underwhelming racing, or bringing the leader back to the pack. Like, I don't know. I kind of don't hate it, but as you mentioned, we're both, not traditional NASCAR fans.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We're both huge NASCAR fans way back in the day with Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin and Terry Labonte and all those guys. But then we really faded basically from when Jimmy Johnson entered NASCAR to when Jimmy Johnson left NASCAR initially, and then we came back, which is where I was actually texting with you about. It's kind of crazy. They were showing some of the COVID races during the break following the Coke 600.
Let's just say COVID was not all bad.
If no, it wasn't COVID, of all the shitty things it brought about, it did bring Brian and I back to NASCAR, which is pretty wild to say, and appreciate everybody who's supported and watched the show and all that good stuff since we've started doing this. But yeah, Brian, it's it's pretty interesting. I'm curious to see. I'm guessing the NASCAR betting preview show at least touch on it off the jump and what it means. Those guys are a little more entrenched in the long-term running of NASCAR. So I'm curious to see what they say. I'm curious what Chris Wormy might talk to Todd about. I'm sure they'll talk about it on the Green White or on Stay Green. But with all that said, should we talk a little Coke 600? Talk about what went right, what went wrong, and
Coke 375 or whatever.
I know it was. Honestly, I think it was one of the most. It was some of the most fun racing I've seen in a long time. And I was really sad to see it not keep going. Like that move Byron made where he went way up top, dove down, went around 2 cars, ended up in third. Like I was just like, Willie B, let's go. This is amazing. Like if they could make this the championship race, I would be pounding the table for that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the racing was incredible. I was thoroughly enjoying what was happening. It seemed to me like the track did change pretty dramatically as we got later into the night. And freaking Brad Keselowski, man, if that race had kept going, outside of him wrecking or having a pit road speeding penalty or something, I think Keselowski probably wins because he was the best car over the long run. It looked like Christopher Bell was really good in clean air and he was able to drive back to the front every single time, but he never really got mired back in traffic. No. So, we never got to see what his car was like in traffic. And then, I feel bad for guys like Martin Truex Jr., who, I mean, that team is feast or famine on pit road with their pit road decisions, not necessarily mistakes. It's just their decision-making. And then guys like, Michael McDowell, who was competing for a top 10, playoff points at the end of stages and such. He wound up outside the top 10 because it ends early. And I got to give one shout out here. Justin Allgaier to me was like, if they could give out stars like they do in hockey, he gets the number one. Yeah. The dude, the first time he's ever raced in the next gen car, he drives the 5, which is like riding a Phoenix in a bunch of like crazy people.
Yeah, it's like being
dragon, put it in 13th. Amazing.
Yeah, it's like being you're all of a sudden you're going in as a starting quarterback for the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes didn't go sit on the bench for a little while.
Exactly, like, it was wild.
Here's your offense. Here's your toys. Go nuts.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see what happened when Kyle Larson got back in the car because I tweeted it out like before.
He was gonna win.
Yeah,
he was gonna.
I was like, who wins this race if we get it to go green? And Wormy replied, Justin Allgaier. So I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen the race keep going. I would have loved to see Chris Buescher get a chance to get his car back in the top 10 because
he was really good too.
He was really good, and then got stuck and ended up obviously not getting there.
And real quick on the Kyle Larson thing, I'm almost sad that we didn't get to experience the shitstorm that would have resulted of Kyle Larson winning. Which we already have a bunch of shit going on socials and between bettors and sports books about the like legitimacy of Larson bets and Larson matchups and what was action, what wasn't. Imagine if he jumped in the car and he won, and you had all different books with different rules about guy has to start the race. It goes to Allgaier, no, it goes to Larson. Like how the hell that would have been incredible to witness as somebody who had zero money on Kyle Larson.
I was gonna, Allgaier, I think it was like 40-1 at one point. I was like, should I just live bet this and see what happens in case Kyle Larson gets to the car? Because, there could be an opportunity there. So, overall, kind of it was a better week. We got a little more green on the card, but man, it's not been amazing. Obviously, William Byron top Chevy for me, great. Denny Hamlin snuck out of top 5. I figured he was going to be 6 when it goes when they were going to cancel or pause the race. Then he was going to get a chance to get back in there. And then I beat you in the Byron versus Marty Party show bet, which is all that really matters to me. I could have gone. It's kind of like when Ohio State plays that team up north. If you lose every other game but you win that one, it's fine. It's all green. So, and then you had Bell top Toyota. You had Byron over Reddick, and then you had Bowman top 10. I also think Tyler Reddick was going to be a legit force.
Oh yeah, he was really
that cool. Race. He was awesome. Major props to him for working his way through the field. I kept waiting for an opportunity live, but like he never got to double digits, even though he was.
I think on our favorite offshore, I think he was like 9.5 at one point, and I almost fired on it, but thank goodness. I mean,
8 or 9.
I will say, like, so obviously it was mixed emotions for me that they called the race because I had bet Christopher Bell 14-1 early in the week. Like when odds first dropped, I had bet it. And then I talked about it on our Saturday night recording. I talked about him at 12. I was very intrigued with that. I should have added it to the card.
Yep.
That's my mistake. But, you know, like it would have been really cool to see the way that race would have played out because we've seen it at the 1.5. We saw it at Kansas. We've seen it even at Atlanta, which is more of like super speedway. The cars are so even that it would have come down to the last lap. This was not going to be a race where I think somebody would have ran away with it like Ryan Blaney did last year.
Well, and I think it would have been interesting too, because I think some of the more veteran drivers with a lot of experience could have really talked to their crew chiefs during the break and gotten some stuff dialed in. So that way, when they go back to racing, they're going to have their car in a much, much better spot. So,
perfect example of that was friggin' Joey Logano. Like his car looked like absolute trash in practice and qualifying. He even said it, like they were bad. And he had worked his way up to 14th, I believe, or something. Yeah. And, you know, that's the type of race like that when you have so many laps. It's those veterans that know how to make adjustments. They know exactly what they need, that they can just kind of ride around and just get better as the night goes. And I think Logano would have been a threat, maybe even to like top 5 if it had swung the correct way out with weird pit road calls and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, well, and then there was tire stuff happening because they were making changes quicker.
So many tires early.
Yeah, they had the set of stickers that they were going to have left. They would have probably gone through them a lot more with the track changing so significantly. I think it would have been a really fun race and a really interesting way to see it play out. So it was a little, like I said, I was bummed to see it end. You know, it would have been nice to be able to see some of the stuff play out. Maybe our card looks a little bit better. I did want to.
One last time, I've been saying like every single week on Twitter or X, whatever the hell freaking want to call it.
It's always going to be Twitter for me.
You'll never hear me say this because I'm an old man and I hate it. But I am so looking forward to Amazon Prime and streaming NASCAR because we're not going to have anywhere near the amount of commercials, the amount of breaks, and sure enough, that race would have continued.
Yeah. Well, and it's I don't know. I get like it's part of the reason why maybe they should, especially when you're on the East Coast, start the race earlier. But I understand why they did it for the full day of racing and the Indy 500 and all that good stuff. But I don't know. It was a little frustrating to see it end. But yeah, I think to your point, even just like I think the racing is going to be more compelling. I'm really curious to see what kind of alternate broadcast they offer and all that stuff. But we're
going to promote it on here. Gamblers only broadcast. One of these stations would be very smart to pick up something like that.
Well, and I'm curious to see if we get an opportunity to somehow like live stream with the race and we can make bets live and have people jump in with us, or I don't know. There could be some cool opportunities there. We'll see what they end up doing. I did want to point out your Bell over 1.5 did cash. That was plus 100. You put 5 units on that, so that's been a nice cash for you. You got the Hamlin over, you got the Keselowski over, you got the Bell over. So
only one away from Elliott and Reddick.
Yeah, 3-0, 12.5 units. Looking really nice. I obviously joined you on the Hamlin. Probably should have bet a few more units, but that's okay. We'll see if we get the Elliott stuff to come through. But yeah,
Logano's really hurting us.
yeah. So, but I think there's going to be opportunities. I did want to point out our green white checkered. It goes out every race day. Make sure you are subscribed. It's completely free to join. AOPpodcast.substack.com. Has some, of our favorite targets on DraftKings. Has some of our favorite bets, as well as links to the episode and then the full betting card to check out. So if you are interested in getting that in your email inbox every race day, AOPpodcast.substack.com. Please consider clicking that. Please consider subscribing to the podcast. We are inching ever close to 1,000 subs, which will be a huge milestone for us. Let's talk DraftKings because it was not a good week, but it was also, I don't know, it not, with it ending shorter, it kind of crushed us. So obviously Hamlin was fine. He got up to top 5. I think he could have made some noise, but I don't think he was on the Brad K, Tyler Reddick, even William Byron level yet. Maybe he makes some changes and gets better.
I was just going to say, we barely got over half of the race then.
Ryan Blaney, obviously, it's been a year from hell for that guy. He had everything come together last year, wins the championship, and now it's just like issue after issue after issue. So don't love to see that. Gibbs, fine.
Gibbs was good.
Yeah, he was good. I do wonder if he falls back a little bit more with the stuff. Kyle Busch was Kyle Busching his way through the field.
I was just gonna say he had two pit road penalties and he still sustained and wound up finishing where he started.
Stenhouse
was Stenhouse.
Yeah.
But again, the thing though is because the race ended when it did, you didn't get the full opportunity for these guys to take advantage of the type of cars they had. For instance, Justin Haley, he was running inside the top 16 or 17 the majority of the race.
Yeah.
So
fastest laps.
Yeah, I think he finishes top 15. If this thing goes green the entire way, I think Haley is probably a decent play because he's only 10% rostered and he's probably getting, 5 to 7 placement points minimum.
Yeah. This was a good lineup, not a great lineup. It had potential though. Hamlin, Bell. I think Buescher has a better day. It's so frustrating to see him only get to 23rd. We mentioned Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, I don't know, 7% Austin Dillon, then Stenhouse. And then
look at the roster percentage on Bell, 13. That's wild.
Yeah, he was less than 13% in the $3 3 max. So that was a good one to end up on. Probably should have gone to more. We talked about him being kind of a little overlooked. It would be easy to jump around him, and a lot of people did. The Truex stunk. Keselowski obviously was great. Ended up finishing second. But I think, he could have even had a better day. He was, 40%. Probably should have been more. Chris Buescher was almost 56%. Ty Gibbs was good. Gragson stunk, mostly because of the issues with the accidents.
Yeah, he wrecked.
Austin Dillon. And then this one was the one that we had Kyle Larson in. I think I ended up pivoting to Truex and Kyle Busch instead of Larson and Bowman, maybe. No, Larson and somebody, because we had Byron, Larson, and Elliott. I forget who else was in there, so it was probably a cheap driver. So that didn't work out either. But a rough week on DraftKings for sure. Should we talk some Gateway and figure out where the potential value is? Because kind of excited for this race. Interested to see. It's obviously a little flatter, but it is an intermediate track. We got some Phoenix corollary, some Richmond corollary, a little bit of New Hampshire.
It is just a weird combination for me this week. Why are we running the intermediate package on a flat track that's less than a mile and a half? I don't understand why they would maintain to this. And something that our buddy iFantasy Race, he commented on something I said, and he's like, yeah, maybe NASCAR is just lazy and they just figure anything over a mile is intermediate. So
yeah, I mean, it might be just simple math. If it's under a mile, it's this. If it's over a mile, it's this. But they ran the short track package on Phoenix, so
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
And maybe they're not really worried about it because they're realizing it's not even impacting the race very much. So we have 5 drivers inside 10-1: Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex, William Byron. Obviously, if you shop it, maybe you can get a little bit longer number. I'll pull up a couple extra books as you kind of dive in. But in terms of the top of the board, is there anything jumping out to you in terms of interesting names, potential value, all that good stuff? As you can see, Hamlin's 5 here with Larson at 7.
Kyle Larson at 7.
Yeah, that feels really
I mean,
good.
You're not going to get a longer number than that on Larson. He's the only way that this gets longer on him is if he wrecks in practice and doesn't get to run, like he doesn't put down like 10 or 15 lap averages, and he doesn't get qualifying either. That's the only way you're getting longer than this.
Yeah, and like he was good at Richmond this year. He was fine at Phoenix. Like, I don't know what we're doing.
I do find it interesting that Denny has finally leapfrogged Larson as the favorite.
But I don't get it because, I mean, I guess, let me look at this, because iFantasy Series has a shorter flatter up. 6th in terms of speed at Richmond, 4th at Phoenix. Like, I think of him as a second tier in Phoenix on the flatter stuff. But maybe
it's because we're in the intermediate package, which for me, I still give the advantage to Larson there in terms of overall speed. So like it's still confusing to me why Larson isn't 5 and Denny is probably 5.5 or 6, which is what it should be.
Yeah, it's yeah. If you're telling me, if we were looking at Superbook right now and it was Larson 5 and Hamlin 7, would you be adding Hamlin at 7, or should they just be the same, or where's your head at in terms of that?
Yeah, so I don't know what it is about Denny. Like 7, it still seems kind of steep. I know he's freaking incredible, but especially this year in particular, we've seen it multiple times already where he just kind of does not give an F about practice or really qualifying for that matter. And so you're probably going to get a similar number with him post practice and qualifying. And, I would rather see Denny go out and show like good fall off numbers, not necessarily top speed, but good fall off, and then bet him as opposed to get in on him, have him suck and qualify 10th or 11th, and then you're kind of like, he's a step behind the other guys. Whereas Larson, he's going to qualify inside the top 10. Like
if Hamlin looks awesome, what is he, 4.5 to 1? Like that's not that big.
It's probably 5 because Larson's going to look awesome too. You know.
Yes, big agree. What about the next range? Blaney, Truex, Byron. Any interest in those 3?
Yeah, no, not at those numbers. Like Blaney and Truex specifically, I got to see it. Yeah. I got to see them unload before I fire on any of their numbers. And then
I mean, Blaney's been awesome here, but like this year has just been a different animal.
Yeah, and then Byron too. Like he's not necessarily known as like a short flat track guy. I mean, he's had some rough luck at Phoenix. Yeah. And so, when you put those two together, I know he's really good at the 1.5s. He was decent at Charlotte. Because you have Denny and Kyle Larson priced so low, I don't see him coming back at less than 8 or maybe 7.5, which I'm totally comfortable getting in on Byron at those numbers.
Yeah, like Byron's been pretty great at Phoenix and obviously decent at Richmond, but a lot of his numbers baked into iFantasy Series' numbers come from 2023 when he was incredible. So he was like more of like a top 10 speed guy this year at the 2 races. So really compelling, but yeah, I think I'm willing to be patient on him for sure. Let's talk the next couple names. Chris Bell at 10, Ty Gibbs at 11, Brad Kay at 11, Tyler Reddick at 11, Joey Logano at 12. I'll cut it off there. Variety of names, younger guys, older guys, hot names, underwhelming names. Like, what do you do with that group?
So I will say you can get it at 12. Tyler Reddick, for me, is my first outright ad of the week. When you look at Phoenix, He was first or second pretty much the entirety of like the first 3/4 of the race.
Yeah.
He practiced great. He qualified great. He ran up front pretty much all day up until Denny had his little spin late in the race, and then it kind of threw a jumble into the running order. Reddick on 1.5s this year. He's been extremely fast. He was good at Vegas. He was fast at Kansas. He was good last week in Charlotte. Like, the two are adding up to this could be another Red Dog win.
Yeah.
And, I want to get in on this early because if he does qualify on the pole or puts it on the front 2 rows, he's dropping inside into single digits.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that you can get him at 12 is really compelling. Like, obviously, Superbook has Logano at 14, Gibbs at 14. That's kind of interesting.
I'm not touching Logano at 14. If it was... I believe it opened at 18, which is something I could have gotten down on, but 14, I'm not getting there because it's the intermediate package on a shorter flat track. Like, it's just an odd combination where Logano hasn't been good with this setup.
Talk me out of betting Kyle Busch. Please and thank you.
Why do I need to convince you not to bet him right now?
This has been his track.
But do you not want to see him unload? Like,
I do, but like,
because think about so think about Kyle Busch for a second. What do you think? I mean, obviously we could have gone back and done this if we knew this pre-show, but what do you think his shortest number has been all season, post practice and qualifying? Like 9, maybe.
I think it's probably been double digits.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so why fire on him right now? There's still going to be value there, even if he looks great. He is not jumping to the Hamlin, Larson, or even like Truex range.
Yeah,
if he's good. He's not gonna leapfrog all these other guys. I just don't see it. Yeah,
like if he looks like a rocket ship, best case scenario is like 8.5. But like 16's interesting.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I know he's been great here the 2 races we've had, but the same could be said for Logano. But I mean, neither of those guys have done shit this year, really. Like, they can't put together consistent races.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm even looking at like KFB's like speed rankings, and like it's all trash outside of the 2 Gateway races. So
that's what I mean. It's like, does he just turn it on here? I mean,
maybe it's just comfortable for his. I don't know, but yeah. Even last year, where RCR was garbage, he started on the pole and won the race.
But that's the thing. Like, I haven't seen anything out of him, so I just can't.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Kyle Busch, but like, he's definitely been a feast or famine guy. We were talking a little bit about him. Like, I think betting him outright and then fading him in matchups is the move this week. If he's awesome, you get paid out, and if he sucks, then you get paid out.
Yeah.
Chase Elliott 15, Chris Buescher 16. And then we get into like longer numbers. Chastain, Bubba, any of these names compelling targets to you? Anybody that you're like willing to kind of pound the table for? Remember when Bubba was like a competitive guy each week? It feels like he's kind of.
Oh no, he was competitive. I don't know if he had race winning speed, but he was going to be there at the end, top 10 for sure. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I actually like Bubba's number when you can get it at 40 or above, because like Superbook has it at 40. I have a little nibble at Bovada at 45, and then the other guy, Josh Berry, for me.
Yeah.
I'll say this now: it's not available in any of the books I've seen, but I absolutely destroyed Josh Berry at even money over Chase Briscoe this week. So take that for what you will. I mean, you may disagree on the 2 when it comes to this type of track type, but I think Josh Berry has been the better of the 2 in terms of consistency. I mean, they showed his pit stops this last weekend were under 9 seconds, all of them. So I think Briscoe is a great play against him.
You can get plus 100 for Josh Berry if you want it.
Ooh, 365.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all over that this week.
I know a lot of people, if you win there any sort of consistently, they limit you pretty quickly. But for the majority of people, it should be fine to get down on that. So yeah, plus 100 I think is a good bet.
Yeah, and so like I actually like a little nibble on Barry at 50-1 just because like at Richmond, that was his best race of the year. That was his best car, and I think there was an incident late in the race where it kind of cycled him back a little bit. They had a mistake on pit road where he was running like top 5, and then he wound up finishing just outside the top 10, I believe. But yeah, obviously small. I'm not saying he's going to win the race or anything, but I like this 50-1 number when he could potentially, qualify seventh row or above. So maybe he's like firing off 25-1 post qualifying.
Yeah, no, I like that call. Busher at 20 is interesting. I don't know if I want to bet him outright, but maybe more of like a top 10, top 5 kind of bet, maybe matchups.
Damn. You can get Busher at 60-1. I mean, Barry at 60-1, like a whole bunch of places.
Yeah, Superbook has him at 60. Yeah, like would you rather I think I would rather bet Bubba at 40 than Busher at 20. At least at this point of the week.
Yeah, well, I just think in terms of like practice and qualifying speed, I think they're going to be similar in practice. And then Bubba's been really good at the short tracks this season.
Yeah. Then they're 9th and 10th in average speed rankings since 2023. So, yeah, I think that's it. So, in terms of actual bets, I have one outright. I added Kyle Larson at 7. Brian looks like he's firing from the hip this week. He's got Tyler Reddick at 12. He's got Josh Berry at 60, and he's adding Bubba Wallace.
Yes, sir. I'm trying to find the best number. I think it's 40 out there right now.
Yeah, I think 40 is probably your best number.
Yeah.
Would you take 35, or is that a little too short for you, at least at this point?
I mean, you're kind of splitting hairs from 35 to 40, but
yeah, I think once you get inside 30, you're really getting short.
I don't mind 35. I mean, obviously, I prefer the 5 extra points getting into 40, but yeah, if that's the only one that's available to you, I wouldn't hate that. Because I do expect him to come out. They're going to unload pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, Barry, Bubba, Bowman kind of feels like the last couple names that you would even really consider at this point.
I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be in on Gragson too, because he's shown pretty well at the 2 comp tracks of Phoenix and Richmond this season. And then he's just been early in the year. He was probably the top SHR guy. So I don't know. He's going to garner a lot of attention. I really don't have interest in that, but
yeah, he was 7th at Phoenix and 12th at Richmond in terms of total speed ranking. So his numbers are all thrown off because of 2023, but he's been really strong this year. So maybe if you want to get on him top 10, top Ford, like that could be an interesting way. Let's look at what the price may be. So top 10, 2-1. That's not bad.
You know what I noticed there? So if you look at the top 10 numbers, this is how I base a lot of my matchups on. So right above Gragson is Barry at plus 160. Right below Gragson is Briscoe at plus 200. So to me, that means that Barry should be favored in a matchup right now. And so I'm going to take that even money thing and run away from the bank.
That seems to make sense. I'm going to see it.
Yeah, the two don't make sense to me. So that's the kind of like leverage I'm always looking at when I'm looking at matchups is see.
Plus 280 at bet 365. So I'm going to add Gragson.
Damn, that's pretty good.
Plus
Barry at plus 250.
Gregson. Top 10. That's at 365. Yeah, I want north of 2-1, but obviously if you can get closer to 3-1, that's a screaming deal. So jump on that if you have opportunities. Bubba plus 220, I don't hate. Actually, I'm gonna add that too.
I was just gonna say I actually kind of like that. I haven't been on a Bubba market in a while.
No, I feel like we've been slacking on that. I'm guessing 220 is probably the best we can get. What's his one? Yeah, 115 here. That's crazy.
I mean, the thing is because he's stunk here, but last year he was fine. And then they had an issue. Him and Tyler Reddick both had like brake rotors explode or something.
Was that here? I remember that happening.
Yeah, I was just iFantasy Race. He tweeted out when he does like his asterisks reports.
Yeah, that's super useful because there's a lot of little things that happen that you don't remember. So,
yeah, if you're not keeping up with Ryan's stuff over there at iFantasy Race, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yes, sir. Super important. All right, let's look at anything interesting. They usually have the spots. Let's go to manufacturer. Okay, so Kyle Larson plus 180. Byron, Kyle Busch. It really did any of these feel interesting to you? Top Chevy?
I mean, at that point, you're just betting Larson to win, I would say, and then you would pivot and go with like. I mean, I think there's value in Bowman.
Yeah, 16.
Just because like he's been up front, like I don't necessarily think he's like a race winner, but.
Speaking of 16, Noah Gragson, top Ford.
Yeah, I kind of like those.
The Noah Gragson card is filling up a little too quickly, but that's fine.
I like the Buescher number 2 at 5-1 to be top Ford.
Yeah, I like that too. It's fun when you can bet these and get long numbers and actually make it worthwhile.
I mean, again, like these numbers, they're predicated on how these guys are going to unload, and if they have an issue, you're kind of effed. But I mean, I don't know that there's 5 cars in the Cup Series right now that have been as fast as Buescher has the last close to a month.
Fortunately, I think his teammate might be a little faster, and maybe that's just the bet we should be making.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to think Keselowski has a win. Look, he's already cashed his over half a win. Okay, he's got to know this in the back of his mind, and he's got to know that Buescher's number sat at 1.5. I refuse to believe that these guys just completely avoid that stuff, although they probably do. I just tell myself in my head, for the bettors, they know, all right, man, I gotta get this. These people are betting on me. Like, gotta cash these tickets.
They could not give 2 shits about us. Tyler Reddick at 4.5 and Bubba Wallace at 18 for top Toyota.
Damn, Wallace is 18.
Yeah.
All right, but what? Okay, so what are the auxiliary markets on them though? So, for instance, like top 5. Like Reddick's plus 160 to top 5.
Yep.
But he's got the same odds or
Bubba's 4-1.
Longer odds than Gibbs, Bell, Truex, and Denny.
Denny minus 120 feels short for a top 5er.
Yeah. I feel like they're pricing Denny like this is a traditional short track.
Yeah.
Not in the intermediate package. Which, I mean, he's still good. Man, I kind of want to just bet Martin Truex Jr. again, just because that poor guy is so due.
Is he though?
Hell yeah, I'm still bitter over Kansas, man.
Yeah, me too.
He had won that. He was about to pass Denny, and then the inexcusable caution.
Looking at race matchup, seeing if there's anything that jumps out. Busher minus 120 versus Ross Chastain's kind of fun.
Ooh. Kez over Gibbs.
Yeah, I kind of like that too, especially plus 100.
Money.
We're not getting any fun like plus 275 matchups thus far, and I'm kind of annoyed with that.
I mean, those are priced that way for a reason, though. Like
but we were hitting those last year.
Yeah, I'm adding that Keselowski.
Yeah, I think it's a good bet. Matchups.
My only worry, though, hold on, before I finalize that, is qualifying. Gibbs has been extremely fast.
Yeah.
And Brad Keselowski is just kind of known as somebody that he doesn't really care where he starts. He'll work his way through the field.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'm not going to add that right now.
Larson plus 110 over Hamlin is kind of interesting, given some of the other books have it priced at pretty even. Denny getting a lot of love, man. I almost kind of want to flat fade him. Just Larson, Byron, Truex.
I kind of want to take Truex over Denny.
He's scary, though.
It's just hard to bet against the favorite. Like he's
Well, especially Denny, who's been so rock solid. Like, you're really it's really like a matchup of who's going to finish top 3 versus top 4, and like, I don't know. It's more like, as Wormy would say, it's more gambling than educated betting at that point, and it's probably not worth actually even as enticing as the plus money maybe.
Damn. All right. Where did you see those manufacturer?
On here, go to Enjoy Illinois, go to manufacturer.
Man, they got to clean up their.
Yeah, they have it real messy. They don't want people betting, apparently.
All right, I'm gonna add Reddick top Toyota to kind of protect against him not winning.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move. Because Kez could win, or maybe Blaney or Logano figure it out, or like one of the Hendrick guys.
And then I'm going to back that up. I'm going to do a Truex top 5 right now.
Yeah.
Get plus money on that. It's been
plus
solid.
125.
Yeah. All right, I'm getting hefty this week, and I think it's just me knowing I'll be in Vegas on the weekend, so I'm preparing myself.
I'll let you solo Marty Party this week.
Oh, man, I am so ready to party like an old man.
Anything else you want to look at?
There wasn't a whole bunch of stuff. I do. Yeah, the groups are really interesting this week. Like, Superbook has some fun ones though.
Okay, set over there.
Superbook has the ultimate back marker: Hocevar, McDowell, Gilliland, and Austin Dillon.
Let's see if there's any value.
Gilly's actually been pretty decent recently. They've had some speed in that car.
Yeah. Let's Gilliland. It's McDowell. It's Hocevar and Dillon. I think McDowell's the bet, even though he stunk.
Yeah, it's hard though betting 235 in a group.
Yeah. And then Briscoe, Gregson, Suarez. Gregson in this group feels nice. You know it's only plus 215, but
yeah, that's what.
Suarez, Jones, and Briscoe. Although Briscoe, shorter, flatter.
Briscoe can pop.
Shorter, flatter Briscoe. I don't know why my betting card isn't full of Chase Briscoe. Shorter, flatter.
Yeah. We'll see. But the thing is, again, they're in. It's a short, flat track in the intermediate package.
Yeah.
And Briscoe is not a guy that you associate with speed on Friday and Saturday in this particular.
You could have just ended your sentence with Briscoe's not a guy you associate with speed and just been done.
Yeah, that would be the end of the sentence. That's a good point.
Plus 220 to top 10. Is that the
For
best
Briscoe?
number? Is that the best number I can get?
I just saw a better number on Marty Party.
2-1.
Yeah, 2-1 Briscoe. I'm really hoping. So I don't know if anybody else got to experience this, but on our favorite offshore Bovada, they offered top 20 and to finish on the lead lap markets for the Coke 600. And thank goodness I pivoted from a top 20 to a lead lap finish on Justin Haley.
Yeah.
I actually got a better number on that for some reason, but I think it was because if the entire race had gone, I think the over-under on lead lap finishers was like 16.5. So it made sense, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Briscoe,
those markets.
So Briscoe's 16-1 at top Ford. He's plus 750 to top 5.
Oh, I'd probably just what is his top 3 number then?
Let's look at that. Top 3, 17-1.
I would probably rather bet that because then you allow for the possibility of, say, Blaney and Keselowski or Buescher and Kes or Logano if he somehow gets his head out of his ass. And
17, 7.5, or 1. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to split that baby. Briscoe top 5 and Briscoe top 10 are both going on the card. RIP my lunch money.
ooh. This is why you shop, folks. Just found a better number on the Reddick top Toyota.
Briscoe 14. That's not a good number. Top 10. 220. That's the best I'm going to get.
Oh, yeah. One last market that I'm very interested in this week is Chase Elliott over Kyle Busch. If you can find that, and I got it at even money on Bovada. I don't really care about Kyle Busch's past at this track. Chatting with Kyle pre-recording. Chase Elliott's safer on the track. He's safer on pit road. He's basically safer when he's battling for the lead. And dude has been exponentially better overall than Busch as a whole in 2024.
Yeah. No, like I was telling you, I want to bet Kyle Busch to win the race, and I want to fade him in matchups. So especially with someone like Chase Elliott, who I trust to be rock solid, like, 8th, 7th, 8th, something like that. So I like that bet. I think I saw it somewhere.
Elliott's at DK at minus 110. I don't hate that. I mean, that's It's essentially the normal price for a matchup.
Yeah, he's minus 110 against Kyle Busch. Bet 365.
Oh, I didn't even look there. Yeah, I don't think he's on Superbook.
Is there any Kyle Busch matchups on Superbook?
I didn't see any.
About what does DraftKings have for us? I think fun.
So they have the Elliott Busch matchup. Yeah, I'll add it to the card just because I'm so high on that right now. I'm not getting crazy, but
You want to get crazy? Let's get crazy.
that'll come when it's a Marty party, or Red Dog wins, because then I cash both Reddick outright this week and his total wins for the season.
I'm really tempted. Where did I see the Kyle Larson is plus money against Denny? Was it here?
Yeah, Superbook.
Yeah, I'm adding that. Our cards are getting far too aggressive too early, Brian. What are we doing?
Oh, I'm just gonna warn people right now. Be prepared, because when I get to Vegas, I have a hefty bankroll that is at my disposal.
Although it is a Vegas weekend, you're not going to be able to get some of those numbers, so you're going to end up holding off and then
That is very true.
Having a good week because of it.
Yeah, but I have access to Circa in Vegas, and sometimes they drop some tasty ass matchups on Sunday morning.
Love me some Circa. I really want to get back there. I need to get back there before the end of the NASCAR season. We'll have to link for a races. One of the races. Maybe we can find a college football week 1 or something, and I can meet you out there. We can do some college football. It's a NASCAR and call it a weekend. Okay. Recap the card, give the people our favorite bet, and get out of here.
Let's do it.
All right. I have Kyle Larson at 7. I have Gragson to top 10 at plus 280. I have Bubba Wallace to top 10 at plus 220. Gragson top 4 at 16. Buescher top 4 at 5. Briscoe top 5 plus 750. Briscoe top 10 at plus 220. And Kyle Larson over Denny Hamlin at plus 110. Brian Twiney, who is on your betting card?
So I got Tyler Reddick outright 12-1. It's probably my favorite pre-practice and qualifying number. Josh Berry and Bubba Wallace Nibbles. My favorite matchup of the week, Josh Berry over Chase Briscoe. Backing the Reddick up with Tyler Reddick top Toyota, Martin Truex Jr. top 5, and Elliott over Kyle Busch, with my favorite bet of the week right now, and probably post-practice and qualifying, as long as he doesn't look like shit, Josh Berry over Chase Briscoe. I'm getting crazy with this one. Pre-flop, full unit, 5-unit play. I'll probably even go heavier than that. So, yeah, that's how confident, or that's how much I like that bet.
It's a big Stewart-Haas week with Josh Berry finishing 4th and Chase Briscoe finishing 5th. It's going to be a big week for them.
That just put those two together. You're wild. Could you imagine? That would turn the world upside down. Noah
Gragson top 3, but Berry and Busch top 5, or Berry and Briscoe top 5. Big SHR. SHR is out of motorsports. 3 of their cars in the top 5. Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Chef's kiss. Perfect.
Oh, man.
That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. We'll be back Saturday to recap practice and qualifying, to help you build some DraftKings lineups, to finalize the betting card. As always, we will have the newsletter sent out on race day, so make sure you subscribe to that. aoppodcast.substack.com. If you're still here, you're still watching, you're still enjoying, hit subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done that. Turn on a little bell notification so when we post new content, you get access to that. For Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time.